Hello, my name is Richard Kraneis, and today's YouTube lesson is how to pass the PMP test. Yes, I managed to pass it a couple of days ago on my very first try. I believe it was June 24th, 2013. So here's some notes for you. Who is Richard Kraneis? Just to introduce myself, I'm a business analyst, project manager, and SharePoint evangelist in Chicago, Illinois. I am a trainer of 10,000 in the classroom, but all that matters today is how well I train you. And there's more information about me at the end of this YouTube video. What are we learning today? Well, this is a method for passing the PMP. It's not secret, it's not magical, it's just my method. I'll talk about PMBOK 4 versus PMBOK 5, classroom training, PMBOK and Heldman books, how to apply for the PMP brain dump, using selftestsoftware.com by Kaplan, using your own PowerPoint quizzes, studying 1,000 questions, writing your own PMBOK study guide, and test day at Prometric. PMBOK 4 or 5. Right now, PMBOK is turning over. If you have not taken your PMP test by now, you should take it before the end of July 2013 because the test will change. We're shifting over from PMBOK 4 to PMBOK 5. So the advice that I have to give you here for PMBOK 4 is just as useful as it will be for PMBOK 5. First of all, you will need classroom training. I believe the 34 hours of training is actually part of the PMI, as I recall, the PMI requirements. I chose Microtrain of Chicago for my classroom training, and I'm glad I did. One terrific advantage of the class is class camaraderie. My classmates and I have stayed in contact on our journey to passing the PMP test, encouraging one another to do our very best. The books that you will need, well, you certainly need to purchase the PMBOK book. You can get that directly from pmi.org, or you could purchase both PMBOK and a supporting book, such as the Kim Heldman book, on Amazon. I know a lot of people use Rita Mulcahy and others. I'm sure they're quite good. In my case, I decided to focus clearly on the PMBOK book as a source and just to read as much as I could from a secondary source, and it worked out. One thing you'll need to do is learn the brain dump, and once you get into studying PMP, you will learn that absolutely you need to conquer some data very clearly and be solid on it. In this case, this is a snapshot of my brain dump for the 42 processes. You can see them here throughout this screen. You have the 5 process groups and you've got the 9 knowledge areas. Let's just say that I was able to memorize this and I could write it down on a good day in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I also was able to do my own formula dump in approximately 6 or 7 minutes. So those are precious minutes, and that's something you need to master, is the brain dump for the processes and the formulas. Also, in my methodology, I use the Kaplan test software. It was recommended to me. It's at selftestsoftware.com. It does cost money. I believe it was incredibly useful. You can use it to learn and simulate the test environment. I used my mistakes as a jumping off way to improve my test taking skills. It has both learning mode and certification mode. And my goodness, it has 700 questions, and I studied each and every one of them. And the ones that I had wrong, I studied them until I knew what the correct answer should be. Another technique that I used were PowerPoint quizzes. I set up my own. They look pretty much like this. This is one example where I talked about noting. I have various notes in here for various questions, all pertaining to scores, all pertaining to initiating that process group, and so I would write notes for myself. You don't have to do it, but it's certainly something that I did. Returning again, I also wrote my own manual. I decided that I absolutely had to study each process and take my own notes. So I created a 170-page document in Word describing each of the 42 processes. Was it worth it for me? It sure was. What does it look like? It looks like this. I've already pre-opened it. You can see in the corner it has 171 pages. Here's my table of contents, and I ground through this. Each process took me about 3 to 4 hours to read and to document. And here, for example, if I go into Create WBS, you'll see that I have my own English explanations. I have ITTO, input, tools and techniques and outputs. I describe it to myself, and I did various underlining in case I needed it. Also, at the end of this document, I started building my own glossary using word techniques. You don't have to do this, but you need to do something like this, and that's where I just wanted to suggest that this is a possibility. It's very lengthy. There are no shortcuts in this process. So, also, I studied 1,000 questions. In retrospect, I almost wish that I had studied perhaps 11 or 1,200 and perhaps not have written so thoroughly a 170-page Word document. But very clearly, I took many, many tests with Kaplan's selftestsoftware.com. I took the 4-hour Kaplan certification exam and passed with a 90%. Then I scheduled a Prometric. Once I had scheduled, I took 2 weeks before the PMP test, I took a 2-hour prep test with Oliver Lehman. And then 1 week before the PMP test, I took a 4-hour test at the exact same time of day I would take the real test. My test was scheduled for downtown Chicago, Illinois, USA at 12:30 in the afternoon to 4:30. Not my best time, but I knew that I didn't want to take the exam at 5:30. That would have been crazy. And I knew that I wouldn't be awake enough to take a test at 8:30 in the morning, so I chose 12:30. I literally trained myself to take tests from 12:30 to 4:30, and I literally changed my eating habits so that I would be strong and well-fed and feel loose and relaxed going into these exams. So I literally trained myself to take long PMP tests starting at 12:30 in the afternoon. Well, test day at Prometric, how did that go? Well, test day at Prometric, you reserve your seat. When you go there, they will frisk you, for lack of a better word. It's like going to an airport. It's their job. They have to do it, so I understand it. They give you 2 laminated pieces of paper. Excuse me, they gave you just regular pieces of paper. And they gave me 2 pencils. Unfortunately, one of the pencils they gave me broke. The lead broke in the first 3 minutes. And rather than look for the proctor, I just set it aside. I used the second pencil. And when the proctor showed up 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes later, I waved at her and she gave me a second pencil. The 15 minutes are very important, where Prometric gives you 15 minutes to acclimate to the PMP test. They actually have examples for you. They want you to understand how to take the PMP, how to use the mouse, how to move backwards and forwards, how to mark questions for review, that sort of thing. This is very important information. But I found this already on the internet. It didn't show me the questions. It showed me the technique, which I think is valid. And so I knew going into the pre-test that I would spend 2 minutes racing through the instructions. And this is very important. When you get towards the end of the pre-test, do not click on End the Test. If you race through the 15-minute pre-test in 2 minutes, that gives you 12 to 13 minutes to write down your brain dump, which is exactly what I did, and that's exactly what they expect you to do. And the test is 250 minutes long for the entire test. And you have the 200 questions. So that's it. I passed. Hooray, hooray. Sorry, I'm not going to tell you my test score. I just passed. That's good enough for me. It took 8 months of study to pass the PMP. In the meantime, I was hospitalized for 4 days. My wonderful daughter had her wedding, so that was a great time. And during this process of 8 months, someone suggested, and I took their advice, I took a 16-day detour to pass the IDLA V3. With all due respect to the IDLA V3, it took me 16 days to pass that, and for the PMP, it took 8 months. And during the last 2 months of my study process, I studied easily 3 hours every day, sometimes 4, sometimes 6 hours on weekends. Perhaps you'll be faster or slower. That's up to you. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for visiting today. I hope you had fun learning. I had fun teaching you. Your comments and criticisms are welcomed. I'd love to know if this is helping you in your study process towards the PMP, and I wish you the best. It was the most difficult test I can remember in my lifetime, and I passed it, so I'm very glad and wish to pass that along to you. If you can, join YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. And just to finish this out, just to verify who I am, my name is Richard Kraneis, and now I get to put PMP at the end of my name. I'm kind of wondering if I should add the MBA to it also. But this is my new title, and that's what you're designated to do once you pass the PMP. My first and last name is a unique brand. I am the only Richard Kraneis in the United States or anywhere. So my name is my brand, and I take it very seriously. And my hope, using SharePoint and other technology methodologies, is to provide value to my IT customers and clients through positive collaboration, using SharePoint, honesty, and a sense of goodwill. So currently I'm a SharePoint BA project manager in Chicago, Illinois, USA, and your LinkedIn inquiries are welcomed. Most importantly, thanks again for visiting. Have a wonderful day. My name is Richard Kraneis, PMP, MBA. Best wishes from Chicago, and the very best wishes on passing your PMP. Take care.